What is up guys, Deadset here. Patch 2.05 has been out for a week now and we've had time to adjust from the cooldown based metagame to the Wrath Spender type metagame, and as I mentioned in the Blessed Shield video, fire is finally making a comeback as a viable element to build your gear around for High Torment. Most of this can be attributed to the recent changes to Akarat's champion Firestarter rune, which will cause me to clear this rift you see on the screen within 7 minutes, which is a very respectable time for Torment VI soloing. Let's delve into the build. These are the skills I'm using. Fist of Heavens with Heaven's Tempest is our Wrath Spender. As a fire rune, it will synergize with the fire damage stacked on the gear. The second synergy will be between the Fiery Storm that's left from Heaven's Tempest, which scales with your attack speed, which works in favor of the use of a one-handed weapon instead of a slower two-hander. Faster dot ticks are also very important for the application of the Firestarter rune, to which I'll get in a minute. Our second damage dealer is Consecration with Shattered Ground. It is an area of effect spell with a twofold effect. First, it adds about 8000 life regeneration while you are standing in the circle, which might not seem like an amazing amount, but every little bit helps in high torments, and as you might notice, with the changes to Akarat's champion, the Crusader survivability has been significantly diminished. The second effect on Shattered Ground is fire-based damage over time, once again within the circle. The percentage isn't very impressive by itself, but since it applies the damage over time from Akarat's champion, it will quickly turn into a circle of death for your enemies. Provoke with Charged Up is an overall solid skill. Despite the nerf to cooldown based builds, it will still serve you with the 3-in-1 utility of a damage boost, of restoring your wrath which you quickly deplete with Fist of Heavens, and it attracts your enemies closer so that the skill you spam falls directly on top of their heads. Laws of Valor with Unstoppable Force will help you with wrath management. Keeping this rune in favor of critical will lower your initial burst, but it will improve your overall damage output since you can go trigger happy with your Fist of Heavens. Steed Charge with Nightmare rune. This will primarily be used as a mobility skill, both to get places faster and of course keeping you out of tight spots. With the recent patch, Steed Charge has been given improved uptime, so if your only goal is pure speed, you can switch to the longer lasting Endurance rune. I opted for the more offensive choice, which is the Nightmare rune, since it deals respectable damage for a mobility skill and it procs the Akarat champion dot. And finally, the real star of the build, Akarat's champion with Firestarter. Naturally, this ability scales with your fire damage on the gear. However, the interesting part about the damage over time effect is that instead of overwriting itself with each and every strike, it actually stacks the dots. So within several seconds of the damage you deal, the fire dot turns from a slight tick into a torrent of fiery destruction. There are concerns that this ability is not working as intended, but until any changes, this skill is build defining. As for passives, Fervor is practically mandatory for one-handed builds. In the new patch, it was turned from a mediocre damage supplement into a cooldown reduction and attack speed monster of a passive. You cannot afford to pass it up. Holy Cause is a straight up 10% damage boost, and regardless of us not doing holy damage to make use of the heal, it's still a solid damage boost. In multiplayer, where Unity isn't a major player, you can replace this with Vigilant for more survivability. Wrathful is hands down the best healing we have for high wrath spending builds, and as it happens, Fist of Heavens is rather spendy and synergizes really well here. We round it out with Finery. With 7 sockets across the gear, this passive adds a significant amount of strength. There's no clever interplay, just a straight up stat boost. This is it for the build. Now let's move on to the gear. The build is fairly gear intensive, especially if you aim for good performance on Torment VI. The full Akan set, helm, chest, shoulders, gloves, pants, and boots brings you to the much desired Akarat's champion cooldown reduction. Of course, you will need several other pieces with cooldown reduction if you want to make as much use of Akarat as you possibly can. Reaper's Wraps, along with your Laws of Valor, Unstoppable Force, and the Akarat's champion Wrath Regeneration will take care of your Wrath needs, and I'm certain these needs will arise since Fist of Heavens is a very demanding skill. This Dovu Energy Trap Amulet is a placeholder and I'll be replacing it as soon as possible, but your overall goal should be strength, fire damage and crit stats. I have removed the Ring of Royal Grandeur from the picture in the ring department. It was replaced, of course, by a fire damage Stone of Jordan, offering me some nice damage against elites and cooldown reduction. The second ring is a Unity, mandatory ring for Torment VI Crusader soloing. One for yourself and one for your follower for the unrivaled damage reduction that this combination offers. I've been seeing this ring combination get negative reputation, which I disagree with. Reaper of Souls endgame has been balanced around group synergy, and when you're soloing, this ring takes the place of group-oriented survivability optimization. Rounding out the armor is the Harrington Waistguard, best in slot for most, if not all Crusader builds, and of course even more potent when soloing, since you don't have to compete with anyone to get the buff off of containers. Moving on to the weapon and offhand, in contrast with the rest of the gear, these slots are rather easy to fill. The weapon is the one-handed flail Darklight, which has the amazing unique effect of allowing you a chance for a free cast of Fist of Heavens at your location. This is one of the more common flails. It can be frequently obtained from Kadala or simply by farming. The offhand is the Lidless Wall Shield, once again a rather common unique. It's picked for the high elemental damage bonus that it offers. Unfortunately, since it's not a Crusader specific shield, you cannot get cooldown reduction on it. This reinforces the Darklight one-hander as the best weapon for the build, since it enables you to make use of the Fervor cooldown reduction. The Paragon points are the usual affair for the Akan set builds, 25% movement speed and the rest in strength in the core section, cooldown reduction and the rest in crit damage and crit chance in offense, all resist and then armor or life percentage according to your needs, and area damage and life on hit in utility. So this is the new Fire Crusader. As you can see, I have already finished the first rift and I have added footage of a second rift just to assure you that I didn't simply get lucky with an easy map. The build is just really good. If you liked what you saw, I would appreciate your subscription to my channel. Check out my Twitch, talk to me on Twitter and Facebook that I added to the video description below, and I'll see you guys next time.